Hello, my name is Wayne Guidry. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Finance here at Longview ISD. And with me today, I have our high school principal, Shamekia Allen, our maintenance director, Mike Gipson, and our CT director, John Gross. And we're beginning a three-part series concerning our bond election we have coming up on November 7th. And we wanted to break it down into three parts, just give the community an opportunity to digest each portion of it. And also we have lots of community members that weren't able to make a session that we presented on over the last 2 months. So anyway, let's get started. This first part A will cover, as I mentioned, Proposition A and debt. So on August 14th, our school board called for a bond election to be held on November 7th. And one thing I wanted to start off with is the same thing any homeowner asks, or the process they begin when buying a home. And it's the first thing we went to as a district, is to ask how much debt are we in and how much room do we have to take on new debt. And the way school districts do that is we look at our adjusted debt to assessed value. And the assessed value we're talking about is our property values here in Longview ISD. And when we combine those two and come up with a ratio, that's our debt to assessed value ratio. And so you'll see in this document, we've got several schools here in East Texas that are of similar size. And we've ranked them in terms of their adjusted debt to assessed value ratio. And one thing you'll see is you'll find Longview ISD, we're down towards the bottom with a value of 2.3%. So we're one of the lowest in East Texas. And let me go to the next slide. And I want to show you, you've got to ask the question, where we would be as a district if both Proposition A and Proposition B were to pass. And basically, I've updated our current number, debt to assessed value, using our recent property values that we just received in August. So our current value is right at 1.8%, which is lower than 2.3. And then if Proposition A and B were to both pass, our projected debt to assessed value would go up to 6.8%, which is well below the 10% state recommendation. So we just want to make sure and put the facts out there concerning how much debt the district has versus how much we would be taking on and what type of situation that would put us in. So we feel very confident in that. As I mentioned, that was the very first thing we did when we started talking about potential bonds, is to see what our current situation was and how much debt the district could take on. So how much will this cost the average taxpayer? So if you own a home that is valued at $200,000, this would equal, it would result in about a $10 per year increase, or 83 cents a month. So you just have to value your home. If your home is more than that, it'd be slightly, it would be more. If your home is valued at less than $200,000, it'd be less than $10 a year. But that just gives you a ballpark figure of what you can anticipate as a homeowner here in Longview ISD. So let's go into the Proposition A. What all is entailed in Proposition A? Proposition A is the value of that is $291,894,000, and the first thing we'll cover in there is safety and security upgrades at every campus. We'll also look at renovating the high school, building a new career and technology education building, renovating the early graduation high school, early childhood center, district-wide mechanical upgrades, a new bus barn, and renovations to our Lovo Coliseum. So, Ms. Allen, I tell educators every year that our top priority is safety, that we keep our kids safe. That's the most top. Educating our students is number 2. Keeping our kids safe is always, the top priority of every educator. And as I mentioned, we'll have safety upgrades at every campus. But I think the largest amount of that money would be spent here at the high school, starting with a perimeter fence going around the high school, so that when our kids are on our campus, there's one way in our campus and one way out, and that's through our guard shack that is manned by security officers. Mm-hmm. And so how important is that we address not just the fencing, but just security in general? here at the high school?
That is one of the main issues that I'm glad that is addressed, because the safety of our students is so important. We're looking at about 2,300 students here on campus, and making sure that, no one can come on campus directly and impact anything we have going on, and having everyone to come through one location and having a perimeter up. We have the barriers in certain places, but even just this year, on the backside of the Coliseum, you still have people entering our campus by just climbing over the railing. So if we had something to protect, that's just one less thing that we would have to worry about, knowing that we can really have all our students and visitors that's coming on campus come through one central location.
Right. I mean, that's a lot of students having one day, and try to keep an eye on.
Yes.
It's one thing for safety, keeping the bad guy out, but it's another just to keep our students in. I mean, it's hard to keep an eye on all 2,200 of them every minute of the day, and it's just so easy to slip off.
Right. And we're a closed campus, and so we are dealing with high school students, and of course they want to go to Canes and Nukes and all these other places that are out of bounds. And so just knowing that you can't sneak off through the back gate because there's a barrier that's keeping you out.
Yeah, I know we never tried that back when we were in high school, right? I mean, we never tried to sneak off campus. Our kids are just different today. Right. No, I'm just joking. But again, we and so the way we came up with our safety items in Proposition A is last year we had Region 7 come in and conduct an in-depth needs analysis of every campus within the district. And we basically just took that report, and that's what we built our budget for safety in Proposition A. Next, ongoing renovations. Our new high school is currently right at 50 years old. It's not new anymore. There are a lot of needs within the high school, and I'll just hand it back over, Miss Allen.
And Mr. Gross and I can kind of tag team this. Like we just said, it is our new high school that's 50 years old. And just think about the things that happen to your home in 50 years if very little or no renovation, is done to fix certain things. So we are a high school that's in need. Again, addressing the 2,300 students, we think about the restrooms that we have, even just classrooms. We're short. We have teachers that work out of the little theater for classrooms. We have teachers that are inside of our turf room above. That's their classroom. And so there's just certain needs that we have, academic needs, spacing is just a really big issue that we have. Now we're wanting our students, to work in groups and work in partners. And it's not any of that, everyone sit in a row in order to receive the instruction. And so the way our classroom have been designed is for that straight row instruction. We have a lot of hands-on. The kids are up and they're moving around the classroom. They're engaging. We're all IB and we're looking at global issues. And so it's just so much that we do inside our classroom that's not the traditional classroom that was 50 years ago.
Ms. Allen, I hear often, different groups I go to or different meetings. How could you need more classroom space? How can you be out of space when we have less students now than we did, 10 years ago? And Mike, you may want to chime in on this. But during the 2008 bond, one thing we did is we took in and probably lost, I think, close to 30 classrooms. And I think it goes back to what you were mentioning, is that how we instruct students, instructional space has changed. Right. We have a lot of different classes now. Cosmetology, you can't fit that class into a normal traditional classroom.
That's true.
And I think we used about 15 of those classrooms that we took in order to make science labs. So now we have a science classroom that's adjoined to a science lab. So we've got state-of-the-art science labs, but it took up a lot of classrooms that we lost. And there was nothing, you think, well, how ingenious, that wasn't too smart to do all that. Well, we were able to fit our student needs at that time and create better instructional spaces. But as our instructional spaces continue to grow and we offer more CTE classes, Mr. Gross, welding and just that takes up more space, and we've basically eaten all of our space up. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Gross?
Well, just the growing number of programs that we have is one of the reasons that we're lacking on space. If you look at automotive, our automotive program, I currently have probably over 100 kids in the freshman level program, and I have one teacher to teach the sophomore through junior level. And so we've got to have places. There's a good possibility that I'm going to need another full-time automotive teacher next year. And the question is, where do I put them? And some of our other growing programs like culinary arts and cosmetology, those programs, as those programs grow and we have more staff, we need more space to house that staff. And like you said, a cosmetology room or a welding room or an automotive, you're going to have that classroom space, but you also have to have bigger spaces where they do the hands-on CTE stuff that they do every day. And so as we talk about issues that we're running into, that's one of the reasons we're lacking in space is the growing number of programs that we have, and programs that are growing every single year with the number of students in them.
Right.
And I just want to comment on what Mr. Gross said. That was one thing that Mr. Brewer really pushed. We have 2,300 kids, but he wanted to make sure every student left Longview High School with some type of certification or certificate, their high school diploma. And again, we may not have a vast number of students, just, a large number, but our programs have changed, and so having a program to fit the needs of every student, from our special ed students all the way to our IB diploma students, they can leave Longview High School with something and ready to go to work.
Right.
And just one more example of a growing program. You look 5 years ago, I think they had 2 ag teachers at Longview High School. Now we're looking at 9 total in the district. That program is growing exponentially every year. And so that's the big driver behind needing more space. Is just the growing number of programs that we have, successful programs that are expanding every year.
And we love it too because it's all student driven. These are not programs that, we created, and it's stuff that the students are interested in. And so we're basing the needs off of middle school information that drives what we do here at the high school.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. The next item in Proposition A is a new transportation building. And I'm not sure if I have it on there, that slide. But I guess when we built this facility, Mike, do you remember, was it before 2008 or around that time?
The current transportation?
Yeah.
Yes, it was before then.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So at that point, I guess we just had bus drivers. We didn't have monitors.
Right.
And so now our department is basically doubled, and it's very tight, very limited space. We have 125 employees, and those 125 employees fight over 2 restrooms.
That's
And
right.
it's challenging because they all come at the same time. Everybody comes in to clock in at the same time and get ready for the bus route, and they do it twice a day.
Right.
And so I know you're right down there with them.
Right. And it's something we've been thinking about for a few years. I mean, as we've saw the numbers grow of the people in transportation, it's a hardship for them. And at times they even, we need to come up to the maintenance facility and, take a break up there because there's just not enough room down there in the current palace, as we call it, and they need that,
Yeah, I mean, we've got just some incredible transportation employees. I mean, they're wonderful. I was over transportation the first couple of years, in the district, and just incredible ladies and gentlemen. But I remember that was always the biggest complaint.
Oh, yeah.
It was that facility.
It has
and
been for
specifically
years.
the restroom.
Definitely.
And I would have never thought of this, but it really gets bad when it's raining outside.
Exactly.
Because you can't just hang outside, a couple of you. They're all forced to go into that one facility.
Exactly.
Okay. Next, I just want to discuss the Early Childhood Center. This is something that just our board and Dr. Wilcox just feel strongly about, grabbing and educating these children at their youngest age. And so we've got an Early Learning Center where we just educate the youngest of children. And currently they have a long waiting list. I know it was well over 50 students that had need for that type of care and education, but we just simply don't have the facilities to be able to, house them. And Miss Allen, the other day I was talking to somebody, and we talk about our A rating as a district, and we do so well, and we always talk about cause and effects, but we never go back to early learning.
Right.
The impact that early learning has on our seniors, and the outcomes that we have at the end of the day. And if you read any researcher or talk to any educational researcher, that's the most pivotal years. Is what are you doing for kids at that early age? Because that's what has the long-term effects.
Right. I agree. With me being a prior elementary teacher,
Right.
and just always knowing that foundation is key. And
Right.
the sooner we can get a book in their hand and exposing them to great literature and just different things, it make it better, on this end
Yeah.
at the high school level.
And so one thing I think I could have done a much better job of is clarifying the expense on this early learning center. If you go to our website, and I want to encourage everybody to go to our website, we've got several documents up there. And one of our documents is the 2023 bond project category, where basically we go in and list, how much money we're spending on each category. And for the early childhood center, we have $62 million listed for that facility. And I've heard a lot of people asking, that's a lot of money. How can a facility cost that much? One thing I was able to clarify this last week is that figure of $62 million also includes updates to the existing early childhood center. And so the cost, and we're going to update this on our website, but the cost for the new early learning center is a little over $48 million. The remainder of those funds will be spent on upgrading the current Playing for Keeps building, because we do want to utilize that for some of our special ed staff and our technology staff that are currently located over at the 3rd Street building. And Mike, I'll just get you to chime in a little bit on this. That's probably the oldest facility and most outdated facility, the one on 3rd Street, where our special ed and technology staff members work.
That is true. That was part of the old Longview High School over there, and there are a lot of needs over there. But from a financial standpoint, does it make any sense to sink a lot of money into that building when eventually down the road it's not gonna serve a long-term purpose for the district?
Mm-hmm.
So, and eventually maybe there might be someone that wants to purchase that property
Right.
over there too. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to invest a lot in that building over there. It's a 2-story. If you're not familiar with it, to do much to it, you would have to upgrade it. An elevator would have to be put in or
Right.
something like that for ADA standards. So it doesn't make it. The current child care center would be the perfect place to house these people with some renovations like you're talking about.
Okay, so just to clarify one more time, on our existing document on the webpage, we've got the Early Learning Center at $62 million, and that figure covers a new Early Learning Center as well as renovations to the current facility, which would be right over $14 million, so that we can bring our special ed staff as well as technology staff to the current
Right.
Playing for Keeps building.
Which will also more centrally locate our staff. They'd be closer to the Young Street there, which would be better too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Gipson, one thing that we're including in this Proposition A is HVAC or mechanical upgrades.
Right.
And one thing that's unique about our district is we built about 85% of it at the same time back in 2008 when that bond was passed.
Right.
And so the only negative thing about doing that is everything goes out at the same time. All the
right.
air conditioners go out, the roofs start going out. I mean, and that puts the district kind of in a bind.
Right.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't think the district could renovate, the HVAC system of all of our elementaries and junior highs at the same time.
No.
And so that's why we decided to put it in Proposition A. Any comments on that?
Yeah, well, it's just like you said, Dr. Guidry, these things are going to all age out at the same time or close to the same time. Industry standard for units, that the air conditioning units, is 13 to 15 years. Well, the older new schools are 13 years old now. So those units are already getting to the end of what's considered their lifespan. So like you said, to expect the district to just be able to start renovating all these things at one time when they're all going to be going out together the cost is astronomical, and it just keeps getting higher, and not only that, but the efficiency of units, it's amazing how much more efficient a unit will be 5 years after the last unit, as far as the energy usage, as far as what it can do for the how it works in the system and how it keeps everything going for the children. It's amazing at how the costs are so much less for a more efficient unit than it used to be,
Yeah.
even 5 years ago.
Well, a great example is our central administration building,
Right.
where last year or the year before we put in new controls, so we had more control over when the AC's on and when it's off.
Right.
And then we put a new chiller in there because it was 20 years old,
Right.
and we reduced our kilowatt usage by 50%.
Exactly.
In most months, so we would
Exactly.
anticipate similar savings at our campuses.
Exactly, and that's the way the industry's going. I
Mhm.
mean, especially the HVAC side, everything is they're making programs to run everything more efficient, which is the way we should all be going to look. It'd be such a great thing for the district not to only be able to upgrade the HVAC part of it, but also the energy savings that we would have if we could go ahead and start doing this.
Right.
And the thing is, and everybody knows this, you kick the can down the road, it costs more later.
Mhm.
That's just the truth.
One thing that surprised me is when we discussed the number of skilled craftsmen that you have on your staff, and I would have thought for a district this size, how many facilities do we have? 15? I mean,
14 or 15.
Yeah, right at 15.
Mhm.
But you have 7 skilled craftsmen. And,
Yes.
And the reason we're able to get by with so few skilled craftsmen is because our buildings are in good shape.
Exactly.
There's elementaries and junior
That
highs.
was one of the things when the district was basically rebuilt in 2008, because there were more staff at that time because we needed them, because you had a lot more maintenance to do. Not to say that we don't ever have any maintenance, because we do, but that's one of the reasons. That's one of the ways the district has been able to keep down that cost, because we've got so many new buildings, or newer buildings.
All right. Any last comments before I shut it down to any of our guests?
Nothing I can think of. I just know that we want to make sure we have the very best for our
Right.
students, giving them the opportunity to be ready to go out, and if it's work that they would like to do or go to trade school, grad school, the next
Mhm.
level, 4-year universities, we want to make sure we're able to give them the very best.
Right. Well, thank you very much. And I'll end with bond election dates and deadlines. October 10th is the deadline to register to vote. Early voting begins October 23rd, and election day is November 7th. And for our audience, I just want to thank you for taking time to just take time out of your schedule and listen to us. And as I mentioned, this is part 1, and we will have 2 more parts coming up over the next couple of weeks. And also want to remind you of the Stay in the Know. You can scan that code and give us your information, and we will send you updates about the bond and reminders of early voting and election day. And also want to encourage you to visit our website. You can visit any page on our website and look to the top corner, and you'll see a link to our bond webpage. Thank you very much, and have a great day.